So now we're going to talk about the purgatory exercise, right? I have a lot of videos out there demonstrating it, but to understand theoretically what's going on is so important. So I think you mentioned it. You said that the dog's having trouble in a lot of areas. So you look at healing on its face. Like, forget about the decoy. Let's just talk about a four-legged creature that traverses the earth with great speed, dexterity, and athleticism. They are land missiles. They are machines. So they move much better than a two-legged, upright, fat fuck like me, right? So us walking together and maintaining the same gait, married up, is very difficult for that four-legged land missile. So healing's not easy for a dog on its face. Now we add the high-level distraction of a decoy. Poof, very difficult. So what I tell folks is, first things first, when we're going to set up this exercise, the dog obviously must know healing very, very well. The dog must be fluent in indirect reward, because we're going to send the dog for a bite as a payment. So that's indirect reward. The dog, if you can't put a piece of kibble in your kitchen and heal around it without the dog fucking you over and taking the kibble, you're not ready for this. There's been many times where I have the teams come out and I go, "You're not ready. Sorry. I'm not going to make your dog suffer these consequences because you have an agenda that he's not ready for." So, a couple things. Markers, obviously, fluent in indirect reward. And also the decoy, if they don't train with that dog and handler all the time, must know that dog's perfect healing picture, because everybody heals a little bit differently. Some people will allow or tolerate a little bit of a forge. Some people are armpit healing. Some people are natural eye contact healing. So you got to know that picture first. That's your baseline. So normally I have the team come out with no distraction, show us what healing looks like, right? What I tell the decoy is, paint an imaginary box next to the handler. Whatever side the handler's healing on, or the dog's healing on, paint the box. What you're going to hold the dog accountable for is anything sticks out of the box. A fucking whisker, an ear, a paw, a nose. I mean, sometimes it's very obvious the dog disconnects and we can apply pressure. But you're going to hold the dog accountable for the slightest leak of behavior. So once you've established that baseline, now the handler's responsibility is to set up. And like, we have the big giant flexi here. It's about 25-foot giant flexi. And it's hooked to, with most dogs, a flat collar or dead ring of a fur saver or choker. Because all it is for most dogs is an anchor where you're going to set the hook. When the dog leaks, the decoy is going to pull the dog out of position, right? We go back to how it's difficult for a dog to heal naturally with a human being. So what simply happens is, a lot of times dogs fade from healing or leak involuntarily. Like, they're fixated. Like, sometimes they get into the zone where sometimes we may end up slowing, or let's say, like, this is pretty difficult terrain. It's high grass. It may be undulating, maybe going up and down a little bit. So our gait may be imperfect. And all of a sudden we step in a hole or take a longer stride and the dog just gets out of sync. A lot of times the leaks are involuntary. Sometimes it's like Tourette's. The dog's not even aware that they're doing it, right? So traditionally, the dog leaks, makes a mistake in healing, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. We then apply pressure right away, electronically or prong. In every aspect of dog training, I say, put yourself in the animal's position. He thinks he's healing, or he's quasi-healing, or he's in the realm of healing, and you apply pressure. The dog says, this doesn't feel good. This whole healing thing does not feel good, so they leak a little bit more. More pressure comes. So ideally, to make the most sense for the animal, we must use indirect pressure. We must clearly vacate the dog from that target position and then apply the pressure outside that behavior. So what has to happen is that if the dog heels on the left, like a lot of dogs do, you're going to be moving counterclockwise around the decoy, almost to the maximum circumference of that flexi, which is going to have a natural opposition reflex effect. I have Simon Prins. You guys are bringing Simon up, right? He's not a fan of using flexis in detection because it's ongoing opposition reflex. I'm a big fan of it. Again, different strokes for different folks, but it's got that ongoing opposition reflex. So what automatically, by hooking that device into the dog's flat collar, it's going to already tap into the dog's brain. There's already a little pressure going this way. It's going to already make the dog maybe want to get a little tighter to the heel. It's going to maybe influence it a little bit on its onset. So now the decoy knows the healing picture. He knows exactly what that team can do. The very first repetition, I start with the dog slightly out of heel position, put him in a sit or a down away from you, and I get just ahead of the dog in their peripheral. And I'm already looking at the dog's behavior. Are they thinking about going to go fuck the decoy up, or are they thinking about coming to heel? The dog's going to telegraph to us where their mindset is. So then I tell the dog, have the handler tell the dog to heel, and their responsibility is that they must give gestural information with their shoulders and their head about which way we're heeling. If you're doing all this shit, but you're going to heel this way, the dog's going to be conflicted with that whole picture. So the dog's here, you're telling the dog gesturally, we're moving that way. Step off with your left. Heel. You're giving him the whole information gesturally, and then you overlay it with a command. Now, what we want the dog to do is fly, toom, find you, as you're moving out in your normal pace. Now, a lot of times the dog will make the early decision, be like, I'm out of bounds, maybe I can go for it. The decoy's responsibility is to then set the hook, pull the dog clearly out of heeling position. The handler is connected to a prong, 6-foot leash and a prong. As the handler is moving along, you can't do this because that's going to create social pressure and also get dinged for handler help. You have to peripherally see the dog get body snatched. And this isn't a violent snatch. This is just a simple removal from heeling. You're getting pulled from heeling. I also like the handler to take a couple extra steps. The dog's ghosted. He's taken away from heeling, and the handler goes, where'd you go, dude? You're gone. Then the handler's responsibility is to show gestural information that we are no longer heeling. The opportunity for heeling is over. They do that by turning to the dog. Now you're squared up. So the dog is in suspended animation. He's between you and the decoy. That's why we call it purgatory. He's there now. He's going to suffer the consequences for his sins of leaking. Then it's the handler's responsibility to apply the level of prong correction that's effective for their dog. And only person that knows that is their human being. It could be fingertips, tap, tap, tap. Simply getting removed from pack is damaging to a dog. A lot of strong dogs I've seen, it throws them for a big OODA loop, right? Now they're out and suspended, like, fuck, where am I? What am I supposed to be doing? You ever be training at a training field, and all of a sudden a dog, an asshole dog, breaks out of a crate, right? Then you're out in the middle of the parking lot like this. Oh, fuck. What am I supposed to do now? It's that no man's land feeling that's happening. You want that. So this is not a quick correction. This is going to have the dog have an emotional response of like, oh, fuck, where am I? What am I supposed to do? In a smooth rhythm and cadence, the handler's going, no, correction, no, correction, no, correction. This isn't pop, 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 keep going, pop, 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 keep going. This is the exercise has come to a crashing halt, right? What I'm looking for in the dog is to turn their back to the decoy and say, fuck him, let me come home and heel. And depending on the dog's reaction is what we do next. Again, it's very effective very quickly for a lot of dogs. So once I see that submission to the decoy and the dog asking the question, hey, can we talk about this heeling deal? That sounded like a much better option. The handler then grants him that wish with body language communication, says, all right, this is slow. I'm already telling the dog, now the dog can see the heel side of my arm. I'm now telling the dog I'm moving down range. We then grant the dog permission to come back, and it's like a slingshot. Boom! Take a couple steps, mark, send him for the bite. Now, the strong dog, who needs more of a more intimate conversation, right? So we've done all the moving parts. We've now vacated, the decoy's done a good job about removing the dog from heeling. It's very clear he's in purgatory, he's in no man's land, and he's still like, I fucking the decoy. Your prong corrections aren't doing shit. As a decoy, a lot of my training circles is just me, so I'm wearing the finger kick. So I have either Martin's system or whatever that allows me to stimulate the dog electronically as I'm working the flexi. Remember, I'm the decoy now. So I can give electronic information to the dog while he's suffering in purgatory. The very, very strong dogs, the decoy's flexi leash is attached to a dominant dog collar. So you have a trifecta of punishment: prong, electronic, and blood and air. That's for the very strong dog. Not too many dogs need that. At some point it comes. At some point in time, the dog says, heeling's the answer. And what's so mystical about this exercise is that they do not hold the handler and the position accountable. They hold their own leaking accountable. It cleans up extremely quickly. Now, it gets pretty shitty. Like, the dogs are going to twist, they're going to flip, they're going to get caught in the flexi, but all that shit happens away from you and heeling. So it's all feeding into the concept that the pressure out of position and the holy grail, the sanctuary, occurs back in position and heeling. There's harmony, there's neutrality, and the big paycheck to go bite. It's very effective for a lot of dogs.